some lessons I'ma learn. I should set to let it burn, but my life isn't his concern. I don't toss and I don't turn. There's some lessons I'ma learn. I should set to let it burn, but my life isn't his concern. I am not the one, and I am not your Neo. I am not a hero, and I am not a hero, and I am not your one. Yeah, and I'm not your Neo, and I am not a hero. Yeah, and I'm not a hero. Yeah. Too many nights, yeah, not feeling right, yeah. Too many nights, yeah, not feeling right, yeah. I can't be still inside, still inside, still inside. I can't be still inside, still inside, still inside. Too many nights, yeah, not feeling right, yeah. Too many nights, yeah, not feeling right, yeah. I can't be still inside, still inside, still inside. I can't be still inside, still inside, still inside.
For the people who been holding me down. 2 times for the people who been holding me down. That's 3 times for the people don't be knowing me now. I just move without a sound, and I just move without sound. And 1 time for the people who been holding me down. And 2 times for the people who been holding me down. And 3 times for the people I don't see them around. I just been moving around. I just been moving around. Yeah.
Yeah. Show me some. Show me some. Show me some. Show me some. Hey, show me some. Show me some. Show me some. Show me some. Hey. Diamonds in my grill, you see me shining. 24s on that Cayenne when we riding. Hey, now show me some. Show me some.
Oh my god. Let's bring that up to white day, because that is that's a lot of correction on the darkness. Hello everybody, I am so late. I'm gonna tell you what, right? You're gonna listen to this music real quick while I'm just gonna turn on my backup light behind the monitors just to get a little bit more light. It's been a rough day. I'll be right back.
Show me some. 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 Hey. Diamonds in my grill, you see me shining. 24s on that Cayenne when we riding. Hey, now show me some. Show me some. Show me some. Show me some. Yeah, you know who I be, bottle popper on the beach. But I go by Elijah and I'm always by the profit. Hey, the team hungry and ain't nothing finna stop us. Check a bag and make deposits and deposits and deposits. Hey, Mr. Say your girlfriend, yeah I see a check and I just hope your game official. And she with me and then she naked. Hey,
there we go, that looks better. I mean, it's still overcompensating by a big margin, but it looks better. Hello everybody. As you can see, I'm so late. Like, unexcusably late, I guess. But hey, I'm here. Apparently we're starting the stream at 40 minutes past 5 now. So, you know, it is what it is. I try. I mean, I just finished at work just after 5. So, you know, I need to get everything ready. Make some coffee or tea. It's tea tonight. You know, judge me if you will, but I've been drinking so much caffeine today, so I'm just like, maybe, because I go to bed right after this, so I was like, maybe let's not drink coffee before you head off to bed. That might not be the most ideal situation that you can put yourself in. So let me do this. So if you came here because of the description, hello very much. If you're watching this later because of the description, hello very much. So, as you can see in the title and description, tonight we are working on Entity Framework Core and SQLite. Now, there is a big problem with this. The first thing here that you have to understand is, we tested this during the proof of concept and it worked. It was really nice working with it. The problem that I have is I can't remember what the hell we did. So everything we did during that, you know, initial proof of concept is kind of out this ear. And basically, we are gonna dig into some documentation tonight. So, you know, that's great. from my side, let's boot up Visual Studio, and yeah, let me show you where we are, where we're gonna start, and then we can probably go ahead and grab some documentation, because this is gonna be interesting. But hey, we did it once, we'll do it again. The difference is the first time we did it around, we had a valuable little streamer chat person, like a guy that was chatting in the chat, helping me and guiding me through it, and that was really nice. So, you know, this time around, we're just gonna do the documentation and hope that we, you know, don't die. And I know if there's one thing that everybody loves is reading documentation, so how can this, you know, not be fun? So let me just pop out a tweet. That's something I need to do more. Like, I'm not tweeting as much like, hey, you know, I'm live streaming, or hey, check out this video, because yeah, I just should be doing it more, because Twitter is just like, it recommends the most random stuff to people. Like, I get recommendations that's so far off what I need to see or whatever, or from people that I've never even heard of. So I'm taking a gamble, just thinking like, hey, maybe Twitter is like, yes, you need to watch this guy, and then yeah, we can, you know, maybe grab some viewers that way. Just the right people, right? So let me just change up this tweet. Boom. Alright, there we go, and I'm using this time to do it, so once again, please judge me if you want to, but I'm trying to stick to the schedule as best I can, but I mean, fuck, oh, swear jaw, sticking to a schedule has never been a strong point of mine, so, you know, I'm sorry, but that's just how it is, right? That's just how it is at the end of the day. I'm going to turn up the mic a little bit, just because I don't want to bring it so close to my face, because it kind of interrupts my workflow, but I also want it so that you guys can actually hear what the hell I'm saying, right? So, and also because my voice is a little bit deeper, if I bring it too close, like, the sound doesn't have time to travel and expand a little bit, so you're hearing like all of the sound coming out of my mouth, which can be very, you know, what do you call it, bassy, I guess, and you know, it does make me hard to understand or to hear, especially because I'm rolling with the accent as well, right? So, right, I want to show you guys some stuff that I caught on the other day. So let's jump into GitHub, because I just want to show you the repo, which once again I'll give a little pinned comment here real quick for this repo. So listening to some rap music, I guess, today. Yeah, I try to mix it up, you know. I try to just kind of give it a little bit of taste of everything, see what I like, what I don't like, and, you know, sometimes, I mean, right now I'm in the mood for just like ambient post-rock, but, you know, I try to mix up the stream a little bit. So the repo that I just pinned, you'll now see a folder in here called DB Browser for SQLite. I actually downloaded this from DB Browser for SQLite. So you just Google that, and I'm gonna download this. Well, I already downloaded it, and this will just help us to browse the databases and so forth, and get a little bit more, especially when you're starting out, right? Like when you're starting out using databases, this definitely gives you a little bit more of a hands-on approach. Like you can see what you're doing and see the results, so it's not as enigmatic as just trying to get it done via code, right? So you know, I haven't used this before, but I got a recommendation to use it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then, as I said, it is in the repo, so you can go ahead and just grab it from the. If you clone the repo to your machine, you should be able to grab it from there. And then I am gonna just run it on my side, just in case we need it. And it just looks like this, you know. And you'll need to like open a database or create a new database, which right now we don't have, right? So we'll get to it. I'm just gonna have this chilling at the bottom here. So the next step is to actually, I think, go ahead and load up our initial POC branch here. Oh, okay. Get up, made it. Oopsie, I was like, where the hell is my POC branch, dude? Please tell me you didn't lose that, because that's not gonna be great. So the problem is we have quite a few here. Dude, I have so many tests that I did here. Login module. I mean, it's gonna have to be one of these, right? Like, so let's open this up and let's see what we did in here. And the interesting thing is, you know, I already did transfer it in here. I've never used entity call framework with a database like this ahead of time, but you know, oh, look at this. I knew that I was gonna forget this, so I added a little file in here that's like, that says what is this.txt with a link, bro. Wow, that's how you take care of yourself. That is how. This is like you going to bed drunk, but making sure there's a glass of water for you tomorrow morning when you get up. Like, drunk you is looking out for hangover, you know, hungover you. So beautiful. So this is exactly the document that I was like dreading. I was like, hey, how am I gonna find this document again, right? Because I found it once, but I mean, you know how documentation on the internet is. It's so vast, it's impossible. I'm gonna change the music just because, I don't know, this music does feel a little bit repetitive. So this is called Chill Vibes. This is what this station is called, I guess. So let's see what that is all about. All right, so it's saying, all right, let's go through these prerequisites. Can I make this go away? No, I can't. So I'm gonna zoom in here for you guys so you can all see. So let's have a look at the prerequisites a little bit. Yeah, it's telling us we need to create a .NET WPF core app. We already have that. And then it's gonna have us install the NuGet packages, which to my knowledge we already have as well. So we can go ahead and just check. Let's see. There we go. We have Entity Core and SQLite. So there's the SQLite one that they wanted us to install, and there's the proxy one that they wanted us to install as well. All right, so here is how. So luckily, after digging into this, as I said a little bit on a Twitch stream, I have a general understanding of how this works, and I'm going to try and relay that. But as I said, please remember, I'm never used this before, so I'm going to try and use this in the system as well for now. You know, we'll probably move to a more you know, powerful database in the future, but to get the first version out there, this is definitely what we are going to try and use. So basically how SQLite works is, the first thing, and this is very important, it stores the database as a local file, right? So when you generate the database, it's going to be a local file in the installation folder or wherever you know, ask it to create it. So wherever this app is going to run, that's where the database is going to be stored. You don't need a separate server, you don't need a, you know, separate machine or an internet connection to an internet database like Azure Cloud Database or MSQL database or whatever, right? So that's kind of the appeal as to why we're doing this, right? The other option for this would be SQL Server Express, I think it's called, and that's also, I don't think it's Express. I think it's, I'm not sure. It's SQL Server Express or SQL Server Tiny or something stupid like that. So I've used that before, but it's not in this way, right? Basically, it's a file DB. That's the first thing. The second thing we need to understand is that Entity Framework Core, which is these NuGet packages that we installed here, this doesn't have a direct relation with SQLite. So what I'm trying to say is you can use the SQLite database engine or framework with any system, with like any program language it supports, without using Entity Framework Core. But what Entity Framework Core does us as .NET developers, as C# developers, is it allows us to build our database using classes. So in here you can see this is like a product class, and they just have properties in here, ID, name, category, and this is like obviously, again, that is now this basically. So it's a class, a subclass, so basically, I don't know what you want to call it. And just from these two examples, I can explain how this works. So do understand that Entity Framework Core is basically just a tool that we use to interact with SQLite, and it offers a whole range of benefits, much of which I have no idea and clue what it is. What I am after though is building the database based on a model structure, right? Because that's very close to home for C# and .NET developers, is working with data in models. Even if I didn't have the model like this, likely what would have happened is I would have had a SQL database, which I would then query, and the result of that query would I then feed into a class, which I will then use in the app to do whatever whatever I needed to do. So very close to home what we're doing here. So as you can see, hopefully, the class that you define, that becomes the table, right? So just a quick, if you don't know, and once again, I don't want to be patronizing to anybody. I'm just explaining stuff for the people that might not know it. Not that I'm an expert in any way, just this is what I know and this is the knowledge I have to share, right? So let's talk about a database real quick, right? And I actually have, I should start using that, but I have a Wacom pen and I can actually draw stuff. So I think I'll set that up so that I would have some sort of illustration ability and I can actually show you guys stuff on the screen and stuff using that. That might be a good addition to the stream. Nonetheless, for now, just picture in your mind. So we have to understand that a database is basically like, I don't know, like a truck, right? Imagine a moving truck. So that's a database, and you can have multiple moving trucks in one company, right? The company is the server. So you have your server, you have multiple moving trucks. Now, inside of that moving truck, you can have a bunch of boxes, right? And each thing can contain different stuff. Let's say you're moving a house, you can have boxes from the kitchen, you can have boxes from the living room, from the office, all that type of stuff. So, and each one of them contains something specific to that box, right? Like you're not going to put kitchen stuff in the office because it's the office box. Now, those boxes are databases, are tables, right? So trucks are databases, boxes are tables. These tables then contain data, right? Which would be the contents of the box, right? So that's, the cables and the whatnot that you have in your office and the decorations and all that type of stuff. So that's a very crude explanation of it and a crude example, but just wanted to illustrate the sectioning of how a server to a database to a table comes together, right? So with that in mind, we now know that we have our server or our database, right? Which is just going to be our Entity Framework SQLite database. We'll have one database. Well, you can have more than one. You actually define it as like as a class. So here you can see this is a database called Database API, which is such a stupid name, but anyway. Inside of this database, you will then go and you'll have a models folder, and in kind of the MVVM framework, but just as a .NET, models basically means a collection of classes that handle data basically, and you put data into it to, you know, make it usable. That's once again very crude. So inside of our database, we'll have our models or tables, and these would be our tables. And then every table will then go ahead and I probably left these empty. Yeah, didn't copy a thing. All right, let's see. Oh, I just opened Teams. Oh, no, don't do that. Let's see if I have my models folder here. It seems like this would probably be the folder that I'm looking for. Yeah, it's probably gonna be this. What's in here? Okay, so it's probably going to be in here. So in here you can see here's our and obviously there's some events in here which you can ignore, but basically as of this one right here, we then have our table called products, or a model called products, and then we have properties, and you can think of the properties as the columns, right? So these are all the columns that we then have in this table. And then you also get obviously foreign keys, a way to bind tables together. This is kind of what this is, right? Like, so you'll have another table called category with all its information, and then you'll be able to bind it together using this custom virtual type that Entity Framework then supports. So that's the basics of how this modeling works. Then from there on, you would have a file called dbcontext, which I should have. And I kind of forgot about this file, but now that it's brought up, it's, you know, I'll explore it. I think it's gonna be this one, probably. Nope. What the hell did I do with these database tests? Like, this test sucks. Yeah, I don't know what the hell I did here. Alright, but what it comes down to is we have this dbcontext file or class, and according to this, so this is the product context class, and let's see what it says. An instance of the dbcontext drive type manages the entity objects during the runtime, which includes populating objects of data from database, change tracking existing data to the database. Alright, so in this context file, you would then define the tables that's used in this context. And then, oh, okay, actually, I think I was wrong. This context that you're defining here, that's the database, right? Not the class that you're building here. So that's the database right there. So you can have multiple context files seemingly, and each context file would then be a database. So, and in here you can see you're giving it the tables that this context file manages, and then basically it's just doing the builder string, which this I'll just copy blindly. It's just lazy loading the proxies, which I think, oh, here it is. The lazy loading proxies call tells EF Core to implement lazy loading, so child entities are automatically loaded when accessed from the parent. So yeah, basically, if we access the products table, it will also load the categories table, so we have that information. Alright, here it goes into a little bit more detail, so let's see what this is all about. Okay, so gives you an option loading related entities from the database automatically the first time you access the navigation property. With this type of loading called lazy loading, be aware that the first time you access each navigation property, a separate query will be executed against the database if the contents are not already in the context file. Alright, so that's interesting. And yeah, that's basically it from, I think, a database configuration standpoint. And then in here, they'll just now show you how you would then include this database as a collection view source, and then you just bind it to the correct database. So you would bind it to that products context, that products table, and you would just make the source category view source, which is basically this thing, I guess. So still not exactly sure how this comes together, so we'll probably need to read this. So it says okay, added as data source. No, okay, double click the main window, choose XAML. Okay, immediately after opening window tag, add the following sources to connect to the EF Core entities. Let's see if we can understand how this comes together. So it's binding to products, which is going to be none of these, to be honest. Just so weird. This setup source for the parent categories and second source for the detail products. Next, add the following markup to your XAML after the opening grid tag. Yeah, no idea how it knows where to look for this. That's I think that's going to be a problem for us. Okay. The only thing I can think of is that it uses the DB name, basically. It's the only thing I can think of how it is able to, because I mean, if you look at this, right, and so we might need to dig into this a little bit, but if you look at this, this key right here is called category view source. Not sure what that is. Let's see if we can figure that out. I'm gonna Google that, and then I'll also look up what this does. Okay, seems like we might get an explanation here. Right, so it seems like it has something to do with the exposure that's happening here, maybe? No, because this is XAML, so this can't be it. Collection view source. Yeah, like... So category. So yeah, that's the thing that's kind of bothering me, is you would expect the binding here to be, you know, product instead of products. So not exactly sure. Oh, look at this. My apologies. This is just, so in the DB context, although this class is called product, you know, so this is of one object of one product will contain these items or these properties, and then what they do is they define a whole database of type product as products, and then they call that binding to that products table, and then I don't know what this does, but I assume it's just an overall view source that we'll use later on. And then it says add the following markup to open grid tag, and here you can see that they're doing a data grid and they're just building it themselves. So data grid, and then they're adding columns manually, and in these columns they'll just go ahead and, you know, call a binding, but this data grid was probably also binded. Yes, item source is going to be the category view source, which doesn't make all that much sense to me. Yeah, doesn't make sense to me, but okay. We'll figure it out. And then in the binding here on the column, they basically specify what needs to be shown in this column. So you can see that they're showing the category ID column and the name column. So yeah. So I think, you know, we digged into this a little bit. It's obviously it's new, so you know there's going to be some bumps in the road. And sorry if I bored you to death for the last 26 minutes just reading documentation, but unfortunately this is part of development. This is just part of the process. You have to read stuff and understand stuff to get it to work. So I think with this in hand, I'm gonna move this over to my other window, and then I am gonna jump into Visual Studio, and let's go ahead and we can add, or we can start building out some stuff. So let's jump into the point of sale window. And the reason why I want to jump in there, from point of sale, might be some stuff that we now, okay, so still happening. So the reason I want to jump in here is this. Right now, this is basically the required stuff in our products table, right? So every product will have the SKU. If you're talking from a sales perspective, you're gonna have an SKU, you're gonna have quantity number, a price, and a product description. Let's see. Here's our sales. So the table sales will have a sale, and a sale will then contain these items. And actually, if you go to the initial proof of concept, I believe we did build in our own little point of sale class here. There you go. So, and we'll probably, I'm probably going to reuse this because this actually, okay. Good job, Stream Elements, on banning, you know, spam. I almost died, dude. I was like, what the hell? And I saw somebody in the chat. I was like, what the hell? And then I was reading it. I was like, well, that's clearly spam. So thank you, the stream bot that I'm using, for being so great at spotting that. Anyway, let's get back to it. So I might be jumping around a bit because right now I'm in that position where I'm not exactly sure where we're gonna start. So I'm just gonna start building out this database one item at a time, right? So let's think of the sales table. And the way that I picture the sales table, and you have to remember, this is not an active sale. This is a table of all point of sale sales that has happened over, you know, the lifespan of this database. Because what is a good ERP system if not able to report on that, right? Like if you want to drag reports or whatever, you want to be able to see the sales number over the last 3 months or, you know, last quarter or whatever. So you need to be able to report that. Now, from the sales table, you can have one or two ways of going about this. You can have two separate tables, right? And these tables you can have like a table that reports on every item that was in a sale. Because remember, for every item or sale item, you would need to know what the SKU was, what the amount that was purchased was, like the quantity, what it was purchased for at that time. Stock prices change, you know, throughout the months or the quarters, whatever, depending on the market. So if you want to do an accurate sale, let's say you want to count revenue over the quarter, you want to know what you actually sold stuff for, right? So you want to know the SKU, you want to know the quantity number, you want to know what you sold it for, and then and remember, keeping it very basic for now. And then you obviously want to know what the description of the product was, right, at that point in time. Let's say someone goes and they change the description of this product for some reason, right? Reuse the product. Let's say it was a special item. Quick example. You have this special item called a counter item, and this rotates, you know, people come put their items there, you sell it for commission stock. Every now and again you get some new stuff because people use this as like a promotion area, right? So, you know, the 1 month it's perfume bottles, and the next month it's these one-of-a-kind toothpicks that you'll never find again, or something like that. And so your description changes because that's used on the point of sale receipt, so you want to be able to change that. So you're going to have a table with all of this information in it, and then you can have this table called sales that just classifies the general information of the sale, right? Like maybe a unique identifier for that sale, like a sale number or an ID number, or you can also call it a ledger number. You can then have, you know, other identifiable information about the sale, like for example, who did the sale at that point in time, like what, you know, a user was using the system at that time, what the sale total was, all that type of stuff. Now, that's the one option, which has its benefits. The fact that we're splitting data across two tables mean that when we are updating one table, we don't necessarily have to constantly clock in the same data, right? So that's the one option, because we can split the updates, and, you know, let's say our queries will be lighter depending on what we're trying to do. But that also adds a level of complexity, and I'll explain the complexity that I foresee. The first complexity is from a coding perspective. Now I need to go and I need to write code for both of these tables, right? So one sale now require me to code two different table updates. That's two areas of possible issues, right? Of possible failure. So that's the first problem that I see. The second problem that I see is I am now calling two tables. So once again, I'm running two queries. Should anything go wrong during this query process, you know, might I lose data in one table, the other table will now become inaccurate, right? And I'll explain why. If you run a report on these tables, you would need to combine the data from these two tables. That's the idea here, right? For general day-to-day, the data is split so we can update it quickly, and the tables don't get too big and the queries don't get too long or whatever, or take too long to update or run. But when I do the report, in order for me to give you all the information in the sales table, like who did the sale, when the sale was there, the total of the sale, that type of stuff, and also everything that was on that sale, I would need to query both tables. But here's the thing. If something goes wrong with me updating the summary or this sales table with something like, for example, the sale total, that didn't go wrong during the updating of the, let's say, sale items table, now you have an inconsistency, but you don't know where the inconsistency is originating from. Because remember, you have no idea. There's a number in the sales table, there's a number in the sale line items table, but you have no idea where the inconsistency is coming from. Something can be causing it. So because of that, I prefer to keep it in one table. And yes, you will have a little bit of a performance decrease, but what you will not have to do, likely, and we'll see, you can always pivot, but likely what you will not have to do is go ahead and, you know, do like a recalculation of the database every now and again to, you know, to fix a sales table, I need to go through and loop through the sales line item table and count all the items on that sale, and now I can update the number in the sales table. You likely would not have to do that. Because every time you call upon the application to give you the total of these sales, it will just go and do that. It will just query my sales table, get the sum of everything grouped by the sale ID. And you'll always get the calculation on, I'm counting up every single line item and here's the total that I'm getting. So that's what I prefer, that's where I want to go with it. So let's go ahead and let's build out this sales table. This stream might go a little bit longer because I want to do at least one table, get it running, and see it in the DB browser and see an actual table. That's at least one thing that that I want to do. So we can go ahead and we can use the prop. So I'm just typing prop and tabbing it in. So let's think about this. We are gonna probably need a unique identifier, right? So this will probably be our primary key, and we can have this auto increment, and we can just call this sale ID. Or well, we can't. We can call this line ID, because remember, if you're pushing multiple lines per sale in here, you can't give it this ID, right? Because it will constantly increase. So I'm just gonna call this ID and keep this consistent across the databases. And I'm just gonna go ahead and so let's do a prop here, and next we are going to do I want to do two things. So I want to go and I would like to generate a sale ID, right? So I'm gonna make it a string for now, just because I'm not sure where I'm gonna go with this, but I'm gonna generate a sale ID, and then on top of that, what I will do is I'll do string, but here I will do sale ID hash, right? Because what I want to do is when I generate the sale ID, I want to hash that sales ID. And this will be a way to check our database. So if we grab a sale, but it doesn't match its own hash, so if we hash that sales ID, we know there's been tampering, right? Somebody tried to change the sale numbers, because it would be impossible for you to change the hash as well, to match your sales ID, because you wouldn't know. Well, you would know because it's open source. So security through obfuscation isn't really security, but it's an extra level of thing. I mean, the alternative is not putting it in there. So then you just don't have that extra hurdle to jump through. Now you actually have that hurdle to jump through. You want to go and you want to tamper with sale ID numbers, you'll need to go and update the hash of all of those numbers as well. So it's an extra level of security that we're going to add in there. So we'll have an incrementing ID, we'll have a sale ID, we'll have our sale ID hash, and then we can go ahead and we can add the normal stuff. So for example, alright, let's keep it simple for now. I'm gonna give it a string, and the string is just gonna be SKU, and then we're gonna just give it all of the normal stuff that we are using now, and then we're gonna give it a float, and this float is just gonna be quantity. And you might ask yourself, why a float? Well, you don't always sell halls of everything, and I explained this. I explained this on the Twitch channel as well. If you are in the meat business, you don't sell everything in just 1 pound or a pound or a kilogram. You sell it in 1.1 pound or 1.3 kilograms because you weigh it on a scale. If you don't have a float or a double, you can't do that. That's not an option. And then we'll also have a prop here, and this prop will be a string, and this will just be description. Description, that seems very, very not well spelled. Let me just test that. Actually, I was right. Just the casing is kind of, messing with it. All right, and then, so if we go back here, we can see that if we were to define another table, we would use this little virtual thing here that's going on here. So what I'll need to do, because I want to define a users table in here, not sure what I'm doing with the login table. That doesn't really seem like an appropriate table or appropriate name for something. So I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna create a actual users table here, and this will seem a little bit more appropriate in my opinion. And right now we can remove these using statements in here, and according to this we can make these public classes, which would make sense. And in here we'll have a prop, and we'll have an ID again. We'll have a prop string username, and that ID is what we can use to link it across, because it will be unique for any username. And then we'll have a prop, of course, and this is going to be a string, but it will obviously be an encrypted or hashed string, and this will just be password. And then rather optimistically, I'm gonna do a prop here, and this prop is just gonna be string, and it's just gonna be group string, something like that. Although you'll probably have a separate table for groups, and then for every group you'll have a listing of the user. So yeah, you'll probably not be using this. I think what we can have is a public bool here, and look at that. Whoa, dude, this auto suggestion is insane. Like, it knew what I was trying to do. What the hell? That's scary. So it's going to be an is-admin. It's just going to tell us if it's an admin user or not. Yeah, that's going to be the gist of this. And we're going to do a public bool again here, and this bool is can login, and this will just be so that you can freeze the account without having to actually delete it. And then public bool, let's do a prop again, just easier that way. So now I'm gonna do a bool again, and this bool is must change password. Right, gonna use that in the future, not gonna use that right now. So what I'm interested in is this category ID right here. And the interesting thing is, now if I wanted to, and I'll need to make this a public class as well. So now if I wanted to include the ID of the user that ran the sale, I'll need to go, let's see. Weird one, this, it's like, it's a public, and then, and then they make it a virtual? Oh, because of that. So they make it a virtual, which is so weird, and then I assume the first name is going to be user ID, and then the second thing is just going to be whatever it is called. I think I understand. So it's gonna be, so this one right here will need to be renamed, because we have to remember this is a singular object. So this one, user, will then need to go ID, and then I also just want to add a rename in here. And this is going to be sale. So this is a single sale item, right? Like a sale line item. Because if we look at the database, then it uses this to basically build a database of all, like every record would have all these lines in. So just trying to keep that in mind here as well. And then they're doing some sort of a weird, you can see here that they're doing an export of type product from the products database, and they are just doing like I don't know what this is, like making a new observable collection so that they can loop through that product item. Yeah, so they're just creating an observable collection of type product, reading from the products database, and that's how they kind of link it up. Not sure how that's, how that's gonna work, but okay. Oh, I see. Ooh, that's gonna be, that is gonna be, okay. Let's remove, we'll keep this in here, but for now, let's drop this because I see some complication in our future that we might not want. No, I don't want to use any of this. Oh, this is just the GitHub changes, my apologies. Alright, so we're gonna keep it simple for now. We're just gonna have a sale. Next, we're gonna go ahead and we are gonna create, so let's see. The products property on this category, okay. Alright, I'm just reading this, my apologies. Populating objects in the database, change tracking. Alright, so now, for now we are gonna add a, and I don't know if this is really a model, so I'm just gonna add it here. We're gonna add a new class, and this one is gonna be called sales. So now it's in the plural context. So now we have the sales context class, and then this I'm just gonna, so it derives from this DB context and it becomes a public class. And then of course you need to add using entity framework in here in order for it to actually, work. That's kind of stupid. Oh no, I think. I can't remember. I think what we did is you define. All right, let's test it. I think what you're gonna do is you're gonna move this into this. Yeah. So now you define it in here, and weird that the namespace is still that. That's probably gonna cause us some issues. Let's see. I'm assuming this namespace is going to give us a little bit of a hard time, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to steal this namespace here, and then what I shall do is let's grab this code that they wanted us to add here. So in here it's going to define a DB set, and here we're going to do database API. So in here you probably need to do using probably need to go, and we need to say manage, is it a reference? Project reference, database API. And now we can do using database API, and now we can use this database API dot models dot sale, and we can call this sales. and we can now do database.models. Well, we're not going to do user for now. We're just going to do sales, right? And then basically it's just calling the builder, and then it's telling us, you know, where we need to store it. And if you leave this just as is, it's going to store it in the what is it called? The current directory. That's where it's going to store it. So let's do a let's just get a quick string here. So string db directory equals, and then we'll just do application dot start. No, what is it called? Is it called executable? No, it's application. It can't be this. That can't be that easy. I think it's application, and then there is a dot current dot startup UI. I can't remember. It's not properties. Yeah, see, it can't be properties. Can't remember. Let's. I think I'm close enough. Get startup directory. The amount of times I've googled this is embarrassing. Oh, it's system. All right, there we go. All right, and it was different in WPF. So it's going to be this. So this gets the base directory that the assembly resolver used to probe the assemblies. Okay. So we're going to give it base directory. And then we are going to take that and we're going to do path.combine. And we're going to combine this with db. And then we're going to take this db directory and we're going to take this, going to make that a string that we can actually inject code into, and in here we're going to do path.combine again. But this time we do our products db, which we can obviously change shortly, and we're going to make it combine it with our database directory with this products, and this is going to become sales.db. And it seems like we don't need this using because it's already a project reference. And I think that is all we need to do. Once we start this up, it should now go ahead and build us that database. Let me just go there and we can just be sure about that. Main modules, and we're going to go into debug. And let's run it. Let's see what happens. Might get an error here. All right. We are getting our login screen, and there we go. We are in it. Not seeing the database folder though. So I assume there is some sort of a... yes. We never called it. We never told it to build the database. So let's have a look here. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm reading. Okay, so this just shows us how to build a grid, which right now we're not interested. And it just tells us how to bind the details to the grid. Now finally, add a save button and wire a click to the button click event. Okay, got it. Okay, so here we're doing data interaction, right? Oh, so you can see that it does a it calls that context type of class that we created. So for us, that would be, and that would be this, right? That would be the sales context. And I feel like we need to move this into folders, like our folders. Like we don't have any folder structures here at the moment. Oh, look at this. There's my database context that I already did build. And then there's, okay, so I'm gonna move the context into the model folder here. Not that I think it's the, yeah, that's fine. Yes. Let's see if that build still goes through. Should be fine. Yeah, succeeded. All right, so now we need to add a reference here. So when we boot up, and this is probably where something like a nice splash screen or whatever will definitely become very, very useful very quickly. And I'm just going to remove these unnecessary dependencies until we have actual use for them. And then let's grab this document and let's see what we're working with. So it's interesting to me that it creates a read-only connection to it. Not sure why that would be. So let's look at this a little bit deeper. So it's called context. And then, honest to God, I don't know what the fuck this is doing. Sorry, that's multiple Swagel stuff, but I do not know what this is doing. So I'm gonna just look over that for a while now. And then they're doing like this ensure created load, and then they're binding it. Oh, okay. What, now it makes sense. So this view source that they're building here, this category view source that we've been seeing all over here, you can see that they make its source equal to this context or the DB connection dot categories table into a local observable collection. So right now, this will probably be this, along with this will probably be our main objective. So we shall go ahead and we shall create a new little void here, and we'll do private void. And I think you could go ahead and check db, or let's call this initdb. We're not gonna need any functions here, and so in here we're gonna go and yeah, see, that's kind of weird. It's gonna be, you're gonna need some sort of a static class, I think, to go along with this. Because if you look at this, you need to have some sort of a reference to every context that you want to use, right? So it would probably be best to have some sort of static class of all the contexts listed, and then this initdb just initializes all of those contexts. Something like that. For now, let's just keep it simple, Simon. Once user auth has been checked, we'll go ahead and we'll not this DB context, we'll do sales context. So we'll init the sales context type of type sales context, and this will just be called context sales. I'm just switching them around for the purposes of this. This is complaining. Oh, sorry, this needs to be defined There we go, that's better. So just switching that around just for now. So once we have that, we can go ahead and we can call, this is what actually should have been here, initDB. And in here we can just do this sales context, and we do database.ensure created. And this just basically checks if it's created. If it's not, it will create it. Otherwise, it just leaves it alone. And then from here, it just do sales context dot, let's do sales dot load. If you look in here, you can see that what we are able to load, and I'll split it around here. What we're able to load are these tables that we define in here, and we can only load sales because that's all that's in there. And this sales is once again a table filled with objects of type sale. So there we go. So this should now launch and initialize that DB, and we should be able to go and find it. So if we log in here, need to check off before we do the database. All right. Unable to open database file. That's just beautiful. Well, that's just perfect. Why the hell can we not create the database file? Wait, doesn't ensure created? Isn't that supposed to? Yeah, it is supposed to create it. So, oh, is it really failing because I don't have a DB folder? That would be kind of sick. What? So the reason why it was failing is because I didn't have a DB folder, right? Like this folder didn't exist. How stupid is that? Good gosh. Anyway, so there we can go and we can see that it is created. Let's do a quick to do here. Always ensure the DB folder exists. And now finally, if we do open database, pointed here, we can explore this a little bit. So here's our table. The sequence is for SQLite, so that's just how it keeps track of everything. I don't really need to worry about that too much. But here's our sales table. We can see we have an ID, sales ID, our hash ID, SKU, quantity, price, and description. And that is just, we don't have any data obviously, but there we go. That's our table created, and a very long-winded run through to understand how all this comes together. Still very, very rudimentary, but I think we might be getting somewhere. So yeah, very excited. Actually, this was very fun to do, and you know, just needed the refresher. And as I said, at the end of the day, this is coding. You sometimes have to read a bunch of docs and just figure your way out through stuff, and before you can start just building stuff. You don't just do stuff sometimes randomly. So this is part of it. I hope you all enjoyed this journey with me, trying to figure out how this all comes together and all works. It seems like it is not going to be too difficult. All we have to do now is go ahead and create all of our models for for the records that we want to use. I mean, sales is there already. We are golden there. We'll just need to create our stock model. We'll need to create our users model. And I mean, what else? And our settings model, probably. So I can't think of anything else. I mean, that's gonna be the first part of it, right? It's gonna be just that. Once we have those models in place, we'll need to create different contexts. So for example, if you look at the sale context, we'll probably make that something like a point of sale context, so that when the point of sale window loads, it loads that context. And then that context will have stuff like the stock table being loaded, the sales table obviously being loaded, so that you can get a new sale entry and or sale token. So you'll probably have something like that. And that's kind of nice actually, because if you think about it, let's say you load the settings window. Now, if you click on the users tab, well, just from an overall, if you open the settings window, I know I need to go and load the settings context, and the settings context will include the settings model and the users model, because that's what's being used there, right? So that's how cool this is that you can build these contexts that load these different models at any given point in time, depending on the use case right now. So I think that's really cool, and it's going to be really powerful as for us, at least for the first few versions. This is going to be what's going to drive the system forward. So tomorrow is Fun Thursday, so no work on this for tomorrow then. We're gonna continue working, doing some DB work, and I'll try to see if I can model out those models over the weekend, so we don't have to do that on stream and waste stream time. We can jump over that and do something else. I'll try and do that over the weekend, spend another hour or so just modeling everything out, and maybe I'll even do a little bit of a video on that. I don't know. For tomorrow, tomorrow we might still be doing data work, because we're building a little custom app for a friend of mine, and this would work perfectly there. A little small database that you ship with the app, and it just does all the computations for you. This will be perfect. So definitely join us tomorrow so we can look at this. This is going to be primo for that. I think we're getting there. I think small steps, as I said, but it's interesting, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm loving it. I don't love the look of the app right now, to be honest. It looks really, really rough. But right now, let's get that functionality in there. Let's get it working. Let's get it, to a point where it's actually usable. And then we can always go ahead and start painting and decorating and stuff like that, right? So I need to restrain myself. Every time I open this damn app, I'm like, oh, this looks rough, right? This looks like something from 2001. So, but we'll get there. Don't worry about it. That's a whole nother stream that we're gonna dig into and do, building style sheets, making your own styles, all that type of stuff. And I'll let you guys know when that's gonna happen as time goes on. But definitely that's a stream or video to watch for sure. All right. So as always, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna close this down, and I am just gonna get this into the Git repo. So see, this is what's bothering me. Like, please tell me. All right, I might need to just do this off stream, because I think there's been a problem with like the Git naming convention. Like, I accidentally did a second branch. Like, I was supposed to check out this alpha DE branch, and then I typed dev, and it created a whole new branch. It's a piece of shit. So let me go ahead. Let's switch to this branch. Yeah. Bring it into this branch, please. And then we can do a pull. All right, so everything here seems good. I mean, that should all Alright, so it seems like we have it fixed. No, don't clone the repository. Alright, so here we go. So we can say feature, and we I'm just gonna say started building build of database environment using EF Core and SQLite. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna commit all the changes we made, and we should be ready to go ahead and push that out without any problems. There we go. Pushed it to that folder. So at the end of the day, we are good to go. We are golden. It's been fun. I streamed a little bit longer. I was a little bit late, to be fair. So really not that much longer, but long enough for us to really just see some results of what we were trying to do on the stream, right? It's so boring or just disheartening, I guess, to not get some level of result on the stream. So I always, try to get us to a result. Like tonight, we started looking at the database and Entity Framework Core and SQLite. So I wanted us to get that result where we can actually at least see these databases being created and see that this is actually working, and that we're on a functional path, which we did. We saw the sales database get created, which is just perfect in my opinion. All right. From my side, I'll see you guys tomorrow for Fun Thursday. We're gonna stick with the ERP, management type of software for tomorrow. We're not gonna do S3 because, as I said, we have some stuff we need to build for a friend of mine. So tomorrow we're gonna try and do like a quick build. I'll maybe spend an extra 30 minutes or so on the build. So I'm gonna do a quick, modeling of the UI. We're gonna do some quick buttons and methods and so forth. Getting all of that functionality added in there really quickly. Getting the database spun up really quickly, and we are basically hopefully gonna build the entire app in that hour and a half, maybe 2 hours that we're gonna be streaming. So might be a really fast-paced build, so if you're into that, join for sure, and then we can see what we can do. I'm gonna try to maybe model out just the basic structure, maybe get like the windows up there, just a basic project model, just so that we have something to just jump straight into and we can skip some of that boring parts. But I'll see how that goes. All right, and I'm still working on the intro. I am waiting for a new intro song before I do my intro again, because I don't like doing work twice. So for now, you're not getting an intro, but because of YouTube, I post, I have these videos on the channel so you can rewatch it afterwards, and then once the video is done, YouTube brings up like, hey, subscribe to this channel, and like you might like this video stuff. So I'm not doing the same I did with Twitch, where I had a like credit screen rolling. My credit screen is just blank because I expect that stuff to come in and to basically just fill that space on the post-production video or the VOD. What I do have the ability to do though is do a little bit of a credit soundtrack. So one of my friends works with a label called Rogue Music from South Africa, and they sent me one of their little throwaway beats, a sample that they weren't going to use, and I got permission to go ahead and use it. So I don't have a link to them right now because I don't really have diligence to follow up and ask for that, but I'll leave their name in the description as a credit. Thank you very much, guys. So this is the credit scene with a track from the Rogue Music South Africa label, and see if you like it. Let me know what you think, and if you want some stuff done, or if you need some stuff, let me know. I can hook you up. All right, see everybody.